Hey everybody, my name is Wilby, and in this video I'm gonna explain you guys how to play a trading card game that I built from scratch, Rainbow Fight TCG. Hope you enjoy. So Rainbow Fight TCG is a two-player card game in which the players take turns to summon fighters and play items from their hand to battle their opponent's fighters in an attempt to win the game. So first up I will be telling you guys something about the setup of the game. So I'm using a playmat right now, and a playmat is optional. You don't really need to have one in order to play it, but it helps you separate the zones from each other. Starting with the center area right here, this is the battle zone. And in the middle is an invisible line that separates your battle zone from your opponent's battle zone. And fighters that you play from your hand go straight into the battle zone, where they can battle with each other and then defeat each other. And oh yeah, item cards are also played in your battle zone. So now let's talk about the 6 zones on the side right here. These are called the rainbow zones. These 3 are your rainbow zones, and these 3 are your opponent's rainbow zones. When a fighter attacks another fighter and it defeats the other fighter, the defeated fighter will go to one of your empty rainbow zones, as follows. Each player uses a 20 to 25 card deck consisting of fighter and item cards. In addition, each player selects 3 cards that are the so-called rainbow source cards, which are basically your life points, because when you get attacked directly, you will lose one of them. At the beginning of the game, each player shuffles their deck and places it face down behind their rainbow zone. Then both players roll a dice, and the person with the highest number will go first. Then each player draws 4 cards. So there are 2 basic types of cards in Rainbow Fight TCG. First up we have fighter cards. Every fighter card has an artwork, a name, a rarity. There are 5 rarities in the game: common, rare, sky rare, shadow rare, and chromatic rare. Next up we have the power, the attack of the fighter, its health. On the bottom right here is some additional flavor text, which doesn't do anything for the game. And lastly we have the ability. And ability, I need to say something about that, because as you can see there's a special condition set on this card. It says play, and that means that you can only use this ability when you play this fighter from your hand onto your battle zone. And here are some more examples. For instance, this one says battle zone, so that means that this ability can only be used when this fighter is in your battle zone. This one says, for instance, hand, so that means that this fighter's ability can only be used when you have this fighter in your hands. Rainbow, so that means you can only use it when this fighter is on your rainbow. Defeated, that means that you can only use this ability when this fighter is defeated. And lastly we have some abilities that don't have a special condition, so that means that these abilities are always active. And for instance, after this fighter attacks, change it to defense position, and that's just its ability, and that is always active. Also, each fighter in Rainbow Fight TCG has a color, and there are 7 colors in the game right now: yellow, orange, red, purple, black, blue, and green. So most fighters only have one color. And oh yeah, you can tell the color of the fighter by looking at the gem. The gem is always the correct color. But there are some fighters with more than one color. For instance, these 2. This one is black and green, and this one is blue and purple. And these 2 are both D colors, so that means they have 2 colors. If a fighter has 3 colors, it's called a tricolor fighter. And fighters that have all the colors are called rainbow fighters. So Rainbow Dragon right here is all colors, and therefore a rainbow fighter. And the second type of cards in Rainbow Fight TCG are item cards. Item cards also have an artwork, a name, a rarity, and a power. And oh yeah, there are 3 types of item cards in the game: effect items, equip items, and zone items. But more about items in a minute. So now let's talk about what you can do during your turn. So every turn you go through your turn sequence. First up, you change all fighters on your battle zone to attack position. Then you send all effect items on your battle zone to the void, which was your discard pile. Then you draw a card. Then you have your main phase, and after your main phase you determine your battle position of your fighters on your battle zone. Then you attack with your fighters in attack position, and lastly you end your turn. So first up, you change your fighters on your battle zone to attack position. A fighter that is placed vertically is in attack position, and a fighter that is placed horizontally is in defense position. During the second step of your turn, you send all effect items on your battle zone to the void, just like so. And after that you draw one card from the top of your deck. And now we've come to our main phase, and there's a couple of things we can do during our main phase. Firstly, we can play fighter cards from our hand, and we can play item cards from our hand. And further, we can also use certain abilities. Fighters with an ability that says Battle Zone, Rainbow, Plate, or Hand can only be the abilities can only be used during your main phase. And now let's talk about playing fighter cards from your hand. So there are two restrictions when it comes to playing fighter cards from your hand. The first restriction has to do with your Rainbow Zone. Because in this example I have a green fighter, a blue fighter, and a blue/purple fighter in my Rainbow Zone. That means that I am only allowed to play fighters with one of these colors. So if you take, for example, my hand right now, since I have a green fighter in my Rainbow Zone, that means I'm allowed to play a green fighter from my hand, like that. So it goes straight into attack position. And then leaves me with 3 more fighters. Since I don't have a yellow fighter in my Rainbow Zone, that means I am not allowed to play this yellow fighter right now. And that leaves me with these 2 purple fighters. Since I have a fighter in my battle zone that is blue and purple, that means I'm allowed to play a purple fighter. And the next question is, of course, but am I allowed to play multiple of the same color, even though I only have one fighter in my battle zone that is purple? And the answer is yes, you can have unlimited of the same color, as long as it's on your Rainbow Zone. And oh yeah, fighters that have more than one color only need to have one of these colors on your Rainbow Zone in order to play them. So since I have a green fighter on my Rainbow Zone, that means I'm allowed to play Find Bone Dragon. And oh yeah, at the beginning of the game your Rainbow Zone is empty, so that means that you can play all the colored fighters from your hand right now. So there are not much restrictions. But remember that once there is a fighter in your Rainbow Zone, you will be restricted to only playing fighters that are those colors. For example, right now I'm only allowed to play Snow, Ruler of Ice. The second restriction has to do with your power level. And what that means is that all the power of all fighters and item cards that you have in play on your battle zone added up can't be more than 5. So as long as it's 5 or less, it's fine, but you can't exceed that. So in this example I have a fighter with power 2, power 3 and power 0. So my total power level is 5, and that's fine, because that is allowed. But right now I can't play Conan the Kung Fu Cat from my hand right now, since he's power 1, and that would make my total power level 6, which isn't allowed. How about playing item cards from your hand? So as I said, there are 3 types of item cards. First up I'm going to talk about effect items. Because to play an effect item, you simply place it into your battle zone and do what the card says. In this example, deal 1 damage to all of your opponent's fighters on the battle zone, so you will do that. And then after that it will stay in your battle zone until the start of your next turn, and then you will send it to your void. But keep in mind that your total power level of all your fighter and item cards in play cannot be more than 5. So next up we have equip items. And an equip item can be equipped to any of your fighters that are on your battle zone. And some of the restriction, for example this one, equip this item to a blue or purple fighter. So in this example right now, I can only equip this item card to this purple fighter right here. And you do that by simply sliding it under it, so right there. And the effect of the equip item is activated whenever the card says it's activated. And lastly, we have zone items. And zone items are kind of like field spells from Yu-Gi-Oh! Or stadium cards from Pokemon. And there can only be one zone item in play at the moment. And to play a zone item, you play it in the center area to the side, as I do right now. But remember that since you played this zone item, that you have to pay the power for it, even though your opponent might get an advantage out of it. And you can only play one zone item per turn, and if you or your opponent wants to play a new zone item when there's already a zone item in play, that means that you can play it and then you send the zone item that was in play to the owner's void. So after your main phase is over, you will go into the phase in which you determine the battle position of your fighters on your battle zone. So you most likely end up like this with all your fighters in attack position, and to change them to defense position you simply twist them to the side like this. So now they're in defense position. Then we have the battle phase, which I'm gonna tell about in a second. And after the battle phase you simply end your turn. And now let's talk about the battle phase, because during your battle phase all your fighters that are in attack position are allowed to attack your opponent's fighters on your opponent's battle zone. But remember, you don't really have to. There are two cases when it comes to attacking another fighter. The first case is right here, when you have an attack position fighter attack another attack position fighter. In this example, Zane has 2 attack and Pyrus has 5 health, so that means Zane will just deal 2 damage to Pyrus. Second situation is when your attack position fighter attacks your opponent's defense position fighter. And when this happens, both fighters will deal damage to each other equal to its attack. So Zane will right now deal 2 damage to Pyrus, and since Pyrus is in defense position and has an attack of 2, it will deal 2 damage back to Zane. A fighter is defeated when the damage he has taken is more than its health. So when one of your fighters is defeated, you can determine where it will go to your rainbow zone. If I want to have, for instance, have Pyrus go to this, replace this yellow fighter right here, you simply take this one and put the yellow fighter into your void. If this fighter is defeated, you can also just simply place it into one of your empty rainbow zones. So the last thing I need to tell about the rules is, of course, how you win the game. So that's very simple, because if you get into a situation where you have an attack position fighter attack, but your opponent doesn't have any of their creature or fighters on their battle zone, it is called a direct attack. So when this happens, your opponent will lose one of their 3 rainbow source cards. They can determine which one it is, and that rainbow source cards will go to your opponent's hand and they can play the turn afterwards. So you gotta keep that in mind. That brings some cool features with it as well. And you can attack, you can direct attack as much times as you want during your turn, but remember that each fighter can only attack once per turn. And you win the game when your opponent doesn't have any of their rainbow source cards left, and you manage to get a direct attack. And that's how you win the game. So there's 2 more things I need to tell about the rules. The first one is pretty obvious. The player that goes first can't attack during their first turn. And the second thing is about building a deck, because as I said, you need 20 to 25 cards in a deck, but remember that you can't have more than 3 copies of a card with the same name in your deck. In addition, you can't have more than 2 copies of a die or tricolor card with the same name in your deck. And lastly, you can only have 1 rainbow fighter card in your deck, otherwise it would be way too overpowered. And anyways, that was it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more cool trading card game content. Also, have a nice day. Bye everybody.